Hi, welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name's Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today, we're gonna be talking about something a little bit more serious. I know you guys kind of know me as the snarky guy. I get really riled up, I react to things. But today, I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. We're gonna take it down a notch and I'm just gonna react to something that was really meaningful to me. So if you're looking for snarky react or you're looking for me to kind of make fun of something, this isn't that video. This is the most important or most influential to me. It was something I watched when I was 16, so maybe that has something to do with it. Today I'm gonna be reacting to Ted Ligity's win of the Super Combined in the 2006 Torino Olympics. This was really important to me because at the time I was not a very good racer. I wanted to be good, but had a lot of things where I was saving up my own money and buying my own skis. And I just was kind of running into obstacle after obstacle. As a kid, I was never a good racer, and so I just kind of, I don't know what got into me, but for like a couple years, all I thought about was how could I get better at ski racing? At the time, Ted Ligety was not a household name. No one had ever heard of him. He kind of came out of nowhere. I watched this live in the middle of the night while everyone was sleeping on my downstairs TV. Back, when you had TVs and watch things on YouTube. Watching Ted win this run was so influential to me at this time. So you're gonna get kind of a different side of me, just genuinely reacting to something that was really important to me. And I thought this would be a good place to share it. So without further ado, let's react. If you hear any weird noises, it's because the video is using copyrighted music, so bear with me if you hear something weird. The original Olympics does not have jazz lo-fi music, but that's kind of what we have to do to avoid copyright claim. And also, you would think Olympics is meant for everyone. It wouldn't be copyrighted, but who knows. Before we start, just to give you some context, at the time, no one had heard of Ted Ligety. His helmet at the time, during the Olympics, he had to fund his own way, and his helmet for his sponsor, because he didn't have a sponsor at the time, said Mom and Dad. He had kind of, I don't know if he spray painted it, but at the time he had UVEX helmet, UVEX goggles, and he had the pink version, which would go on to become really iconic through his company Shred. But yeah, no one had heard of him. He was way behind in the Super G. And basically the way Super G Combined works is it does one run of Super G and 2 runs of slalom, if I'm remembering correctly. So Ted at the time was not a big Super G racer. I think he was a few seconds behind the field. Most people would just kind of count him out. He would not be really in the running in most people's heads unless he just had a moment of chaos where the universe all stopped spinning and landed right on him. But I'll let you see it for yourself. So without further ado, here we go.
Young Ted Ligety, 21 years of age. Imagine him standing here with a chance, not just a medal, but he could possibly make gold. The way he's going, you can't just doubt him. His parents, how excited.
Man, Ted looks so young in this video. Holy moly. Yep, he's got the Roosh Excalibur mittens. I actually still have a pair of these that I got, and they have just lasted that long. He's got the Swix Mach CT1 poles with the pull extenders. He's got Nordica boots, hard to tell. And then he's got his Volcal Race Tigers from then. That was the first year of the Race Tiger, and they were hugely popular after this. He's got his UVEX helmet, UVEX goggles. I'd love to know if he spray painted it or if UVEX made him a special color like that, because it definitely made him stand out. He's in 3rd place, which means he went from way back of the pack. Already in his first run, he must have done stellar in order to just get himself into that arena. And then you have to make sure you put down another run that not only keeps your medal, but can do well enough to close the gap between 1st place. I had the speed suit, except there wasn't red, there was blue. Wow, I have not watched this video in a long time, and it is taking me back. I can remember sitting on my mom's futon watching this from one of those old wooden TVs, or whatever, the wood panels on the side. Wow, this is crazy. Okay. Yeah, I would have been 16 when this came out. Ted would have been 21. Okay, anyway. Without further ado, let's keep going.
Every time we see a picture of them, they're just jumping up and down, literally.
I'll tell you, I thought it was amazing. After the first run, Ted said, I wasn't going 100% yet. I still got more horsepower for the second run. That's a lot of confidence from a young skier.
You're not kidding. He had the fastest slalom run of the entire field, combined with his downhill effort. Here he is.
Man, I can't tell if that squeaking is his boots or if it's just the gates or it's just the ice. Sometimes when the snow gets packed down, it makes that kind of noise. Already he is just going after it. I mean, you can see how close he is getting his skis onto that. He is not giving up any inch of this. This is so cool. Look at the old marker bindings on the race tigers. Wow. It really takes me back, honestly. I know this sounds silly, but I get really nostalgic for this stuff because it doesn't feel that long to me. But now, God, oh my God, that's 18 years ago. Wow. Time has flown.
4 years ago in the Salt Lake Olympics, it was Bodie Miller who faced the same deficit, 3 seconds behind. He came within 0.2 of a second of the gold medal, finishing with the silver.
And he's ahead here by
3 seconds behind. Okay, so he is just like, he has to completely bury these people in order to just have a chance. Also, you saw that inside clear, that was beautiful. I mean, Ted was so disciplined at slalom back then. I know he's talked about like having kind of an equipment discovery later, and he think he could have run slalom longer. He went on to obviously become Mr. GS, but I loved his slalom form because he's so good at pressuring the downhill ski, but with slalom, with it being such quick turns, it forced him with his downhill ski to build that pressure quickly, so he became really, really efficient with it. What's a good way of explaining it? It's almost like if you had a long distance runner versus a short distance runner. With a short distance runner, you have to like really have everything dialed in. It doesn't last as long, but just everything has to be super dialed in with your fundamentals. Like you have to have that timing down perfectly. There's not a lot of room to like think about your turn or reload the turn. So I guess that's why it carried over so well to GS, but I mean, you just look at him, his shoulders are perfectly squared on the hill. He's loading that downhill ski. You can see that strap waving, that's an early booster strap. And early Slytech shin guards. I think that was before, I don't know if Ted Ligety owned it then, but I know Shred Optics purchased it or acquired it later. Whatever reason, they're tied together now. But look at like his shoulders and his upper body are so close to the ground because his lower body is just like swinging from side to side, so he can keep his upper body facing down the middle of the corridor. If you had like slalom gates on either side here and here, you want your chest and your upper body to be down that corridor because that's the fastest route, right? Like the fastest point between two lines is a straight line. He's got his upper body going in a straight line, and you're kind of throwing your skis side to side on it.
by nearly 3/10.
Amazing. He just seems to be so much in control, so composed.
This is a wider set this second.
And look how he's like got his pull plant going. He's driving his hand through the turn to like build momentum while also simultaneously cross blocking. If you're ever wondering about the cross blocking, it's not like something you're hitting or the gates are plastic. It's more just like clearing them out of the way if they're being funny, or it's typically like your shins are coming across it and you're mostly just kind of protecting your face or keeping the gate from like slowing your upper body. It kind of looks weird, but it's not punching it like it looks. It's more like I'm coming through. The fastest way from here to there is me kind of like getting on the inside of the gate and my legs being on the outside, and we're kind of just clipping through all in one motion. But during speed, you don't quite see it the way it's working. It can almost look like boxing, but it's not.
Can run, it's not bothering him at all. Look at him reach.
Yeah, but he uses his height.
You see how he threw his legs out there, right? Like that turn is way out of the way, and if you did it like a normal person would ski it, you'd have to go way out of your way, lose all your speed. He throws his legs out just to meet that gate and, you know, not to get disqualified, but while keeping his body going. You can't do that all the time, but you can do it one time just to kind of keep your momentum, and then he's gonna go through this combination. The combination is like, people get kind of confused by it when it's stacked like that, but if you're not familiar with it, it's basically, if you have a gate, inside gate and an outside gate and an inside gate and an outside gate, you need to clear this plane. So typically the outside gates are way on the outside, you can't even see them, but you're just trying to get through this plane. What they do with those flushes or hairpins, hairpin is one, a flush is two sets of them. They're taking those two gates and they're turning them sideways and then lining them up like this. So it looks weird, but you're basically just trying to break this plane through and break that plane through. You can actually ski them backwards legally, but usually it's not efficient to do that.
Height and the length of his legs to get around the gates, like he is just firing at him down here.
Half a second ahead, driving to the bottom.
This is an unbelievable.
I know it doesn't seem like it because these races are typically a minute or under, but it is so exhausting. You're going full anaerobic and your legs are usually screaming at this point. It doesn't look like it. It looks easy and the camera's making it look flatter than it is. but it is actually exhausting. I'm sure he's gassed by now. Yeah, the camera really doesn't show it, but you've been skiing so hard for so long, coming through, getting every turn, mentally like setting yourself up and making sure you remember that section and what your plan was. Because there's different plans. You can't just barrel through everything. You might be like, okay, I'm gonna ski a little wide at the top, but then when I get through that flush in the flat, I'm gonna carry my speed, so I'll take it a little wider at the top and go through. I mean, when you're inspecting, there's a lot that goes into this mentally and a lot of tactics that you take.
Second run.
Final gate to the finish line for Ligety, and he's into first place by more than a second, 1.3. His parents watch this incredible performance by Ted Ligety. He is on the podium at these Olympic Games. At worst, a bronze medalist in his first Olympic effort.
Tim, when he told me he had more horsepower for the second run, he wasn't kidding, and he used every bit of it. I told you, he had to be quick on and off the edges. He was absolutely that. Look at the way he's springing right off the ground. He lays the ski on edge like he loves to do, gets a lot of pressure out of the...
Yeah, and this was before we had those fundamentals of that strong downhill pressure. I mean, traditionally back then, a lot of people would say, well, you have to be really big. A lot of the Austrians were these really big, bulky people. So for speed events and GS, even local races, the kids who would win were really beefy kids. And Ted was kind of the first guy that could show you could be really small and just kind of be really technical and just get that perfect line, or just be really proficient with your fundamentals. And it might not seem like it just from watching this video, but it was groundbreaking in how it kind of changed ski racing. Because before we had Bodie Miller, who is great in his own right, he was kind of the most competitive racer that probably still ever gone through ski racing. But also he had the best tactics, like which gates to send when and how straight to send things, and he always pushed that limit. But Ted was kind of the opposite, the yin to that yang, where he was more, these are my fundamentals, this is how I'm gonna just kind of build my pressure perfectly, and mastering that skill.
Ski, a lot of horsepower, and man, does he ever charge in between the gates. And look at his body position. Every time those skis come up off the ground, he stays right in the center. Perfect balance, lands on the edge. Oh my God, he did everything he had to do in the second run. Such maturity for a 21-year-old in a second run of an Olympic Games. Outstanding skiing.
Crowning.
And by the time he gets to the gate, he's already like building up that pressure for the next gate, or like throwing it across. This is a very technical course, like that's a very hard set to ski, and it looks like he's just kind of finessing every little corner he can get to make up time. That's just amazing.
A breakthrough year. He had a second and 2/3 on the World Cup coming in to these Olympic Games. I mean, it's just been an incredible season for this youngster.
Oh, you know what? I think he hooked the gate. He did.
He hooked a gate. He knew it right away, and the gold medal goes to Ted Ligety.
And one thing you don't see from this old clip, but Benny Reich at the time was so dominant. I think he was from Austria. I had a poster of him. He was one of those big Austrian guys on Atomic. There is this cool video about his dad cutting down the tree that he was going to use for skis. And who knows why he DQ'd, but the way that I read this is that Ted pushed him to run such a tight line and such a technical line that he just skied out.
Out of the race, and Ted Ligety is the gold medalist. What a performance by this youngster, and with help from Reich, he has the gold. Extraordinary gold medal performance by this youngster. He was 3 seconds behind after the downhill. He had the fastest run in the first slalom, and he has the fastest run in this one. Gold medal to Ted Ligety of Park City. His teammates are out there. That's Nyman and McCartney raising him up on the shoulders there. And there are Bill and Cindy Ligety, and Mom can't believe it.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm so surprised right now, you know. It's kind of hitting me, but I don't know. Just watching Wright come down, losing a little time, then him going out. I mean, I would have liked him to finish and beat him on a fair race, you know, but I don't know what to say.
And Ted, 4 years ago in Salt Lake, you were 17 years old. You were a forerunner for the slalom, and here you are 4 years later, Olympic gold medalist. Can you believe it?
No, I mean, if you said 4 years ago that I'd make the Olympics, I'd be ecstatic. And to say I was Olympic champion, I mean, I can't even say anything else.
Congratulations, man, you're Olympic champion.
Thank you.
A youngster with the thrill of a lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, like, what else do you have to say? That is amazing. He was not even in the running. He barely made it to the Olympics, and then suddenly he's kind of thrust into the spotlight. You can see his skiing, though, is so technical and so good, even to this day. I mean, he's changed so much. But all of his fundamentals are good. He's like ready onto the next skate. He's already preloading his ski. He's doing fundamentals that are commonplace now, but back then, nobody skied like Ted Ligety. Rosignol used to have a poster back when he skied on Rosignol, shortly after this, where it was like him and his hip is just to the ground and his feet are all the way over. And the angles that he was able to get were so amazing. And it wasn't because, you know, he had some secret sauce. He just perfected downhill ski pressure. He perfected his balance on a platform. He perfected timing his pressure. He perfected all these things that you don't see on the surface, but just end up with a really cool result. And the sport has changed ever since then. Now, for me personally, if I can make it about me. No, but really, me as a kid watching this at 16 years old, where I was not a very good skier ever as a kid. I skied in the Burke Mountain Academy program and constantly got my teeth kicked in. And I even quit for a few years because it was just too competitive. And so what I essentially did, not to bore you, but what I essentially did was when I turned 16, I met a friend, Josh, who was ultra good. Instantly. He did like 3 races and suddenly he was one of the best guys. Suddenly I wanted to be really good. I wanted to race. I wanted to ski in college. That was my big goal. I knew I wasn't going to make it to the Olympics by that point. But I had like a list of things I wanted to accomplish, and I needed to go to USSA races. And I actually raced in the New Hampshire circuit races, and I raced against Ted's younger brother, Charlie, who skied for the Dartmouth College ski team. And he kicked my teeth in by like 9 seconds or something crazy. But I was basically going through this process of like trying to compete, trying to get back in these circuits, and not with really any kind of support, or a lot of people saying, this is a waste of time, you're not going to get that good in a few years. And watching this, to me as a kid, was just this kind of blueprint or signal that, hey, you can come from where no one's ever heard of you to doing really well. And you can do it through hard work and building out like a few fundamentals. So for me, like this was the most influential skiing I'd ever seen in my life. I went on the next 2 years to be still just kind of good, but you know, winning high school races and starting to get in the top 30 of some of the USSA races, which in Vermont is very competitive. And eventually skiing in college. Now, it was like Division 3. It's not that crazy. But for me, it was really meaningful. And the next year, actually the next summer, my mom signed me up for a ski camp. And it was a Ted Ligety camp. I got to meet him. And I went on to go to the camp for a couple of years. And then I coached it when I was 18, 19, something like that. And I kind of got to know Ted just from having him coach me or from working with him for like the next, 6 years, something like that after that. And Ted was also a really cool person in person. He didn't care how good you were. He was just willing to give you advice if you wanted to learn. So yeah, that's my long spiel. Now as an adult, I understand like, okay, Ted's just a person and he was really good at this thing, but you know, we're all just people. So I don't get as starstruck or don't really see celebrity the way that I used to as a teenager, but I'm super grateful for him because he just had this attitude about learning and developing. Ted used to talk, because you'd watch him especially when I was coaching, you'd watch him do these talks with campers every year. And he had this talk about how he was never winning races as a kid. He was always 4th, 5th, and that he attributes a lot of his success to being kind of in the middle of the pack or within reach of winning and always getting beaten, because it gave him a lot of tools of, okay, I'll watch the guy ahead of me and what's he doing that I'm not, or how can I get there? And I think that's a skill a lot of people take for granted. They just think people are natural born skiers, and that's the thing I guess that stuck with me the most over the years is like, nobody's the best when they start out, but if you're willing to learn and you're willing to get beaten and you're willing to like just watch how other people do things, then you can learn and develop. And honestly, a lot of that has been like these videos. I know my first videos that I put out were not very good. One of them I'm filming vertically on my phone. You can hear the tower in the back. But I know that if I'm willing to keep doing it, they get better, and I can get better and I can learn. And so anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. Maybe this is just sappy. I know you guys come here for my satire, but this is me being very genuine. I guess vulnerable is kind of a weird word to use, but just being honest, like, being genuine. I looked up to Ted Ligety a lot, and this is my favorite moment in ski racing history, so I thought I'd share it with you. kind of a weird video, but like I said, if I keep making videos, they're bound to get better. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for those of you guys who've been watching for a while and being there with me through the bad videos and the ones that are getting better now. I really appreciate you guys. If you want to support the channel, we have memberships. You know the whole deal. If you want a free way to support the channel, you can like and subscribe. We should have more ski reviews this week, but I thought I'd take a detour and travel down memory lane with Ted Ligaty's Olympic gold medal. But as always, just thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to watch my videos, be supportive. It really means a lot to me, and you guys have helped my channel grow and helped me get more skis to review, so I really, really appreciate it. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for being here, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.